Following what was an absolutely epic episode 4 of Shogun and an ending that I just haven't been able to stop thinking about, FX has now released the trailer to the upcoming episode, episode 5, the one which marks the halfway point through the season. With it only being around 25 seconds long, it didn't give much away at all, and this show loves doing that with its trailers. So I thought I'd delve into the trailer and break down all that there was to take away from it, whilst also giving my theories and predictions on what I think will happen next. So let's get into it. Here is Shogun Episode 5 Trailer Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Now, this trailer looked as though it was hinting towards us being introduced to a worrying mother of the future heir and young son of the deceased Taiko, Yachiyo. This is Ochiba No Kata. It seems like with her sniffing danger and a potential threat being on the horizon to not only her son's claim to power, but also to her and her son's life, we're going to be seeing her choosing her side in the impending war that's on the horizon between the Eastern and the Western army. But we'll get to that later on in the video when the section arrives. So the trailer for episode 5 opened up with a piece of dialogue that was spoken from Mariko towards John Blackthorne. She said the line, "All of this is my doing. We should not be seen together. From this day forward, the only words we share will be from others' lips." This is probably the most poetic way that I've ever heard somebody say that they're just not interested in pursuing anything anymore. With Mariko being the translator between John's Portuguese and the nation's Japanese, she's essentially saying that the only time that they'll speak is when she's acting as the translator between all of the parties and the words aren't her own. This is a drastic change to the way that we saw her acting in the previous episode, where she acted as the courtesan and chose to be intimate with John Blackthorne in his quarters. She even had a smile on her face the following morning when they met again. So it does lead me to wonder, what's caused her to have a sudden change of heart? Well, part of me thinks that with the war that's probably about to erupt between the two different sides, she may think that it's just not the most appropriate thing for them to be doing. As after all, John Blackthorne isn't just any person. He's viewed as a barbarian by most of the population, and then within the inner circle that she's associated with, he's viewed as the Hatamoto and is gaining more respect. With him being of personal interest to Yoshi Toranaga and being seen as a person with a crucial role to play in this war, she may see things getting complicated between the both of them if they were to continue pillowing. As well as that, they've done it once and they got away with it. Considering her husband, Tora Buntaro, has just been killed, allegedly. Somebody who was considered an honorable warrior. If they were to continue doing it, the higher the chances are of them being caught, found out, and there may be some kind of repercussions. Severe ones at that. Within the clips that were in the trailer, it did look like she had some kind of bruise that was on the side of her face, so I wonder if that has something to do with it. Maybe it could. As she said this line to him, there were a couple of clips that were placed together. One was of the both of them walking past one another in close quarters and looking in each other's eyes. And then the next was when she was saying the line directly towards John Blackthorne. He did seem slightly disappointed with what she was saying. However, so far, since he started being shown respect, John has been a respectful person towards the people of Japan. So I imagine he'd most definitely be the same with Mariko, as he does seem to care about her. The next section of this trailer was then taken from what I'm going to presume is slightly after when this scene occurred, as they're both in the same attire as what they were previously in. I feel this could either be in Edo or still in Izu, but the banner and emblem that's present is one that looks very similar to what is called the Tokugawa clan. This is the real person that Toranaga is based on, so it would make sense that the symbol of the clan would be very similar. This is also different from the symbol that Yabushige had on his banners in the episode that was just released, and the colour was different too. Following this, John Blackthorne approached Toranaga and said the line, "I ask that my ship and my men be returned to me so that I may leave and not return." This is something that's most definitely going to get denied. He wasn't even allowed to get onto his ship to retrieve his items in episode 4, and Toranaga sees him as crucial in being able to win this war due to the alternative styles of fighting that he can teach his men. I'm going to be delving into the real story here, so if you don't want to hear potential spoilers, then click ahead to the time that's on the screen now. Within real life, William Adams, who's the historical person that John Blackthorne is based on, did actually ask Ieyasu Tokugawa to go home and return to England so that he could be with his wife and children. But this was something that was never granted. He was never allowed to return to England throughout his life and be with his family. Kind of summing up the mood that Blackthorne felt in episode 4, where he said how he was essentially still a prisoner but with just good conditions. However, many of Adam's men were actually given the option to leave, and most of them chose to do so. So in this instance, I don't think that John Blackthorne will be leaving, nor will he ever be. The next part of the trailer then changed the environment completely, and it looked like we were back in Osaka. Here we saw Ochiba No Kata, who we've actually seen just the once before. This was in a flashback at the start of episode 2, where Toranaga met with the Taiko moments before he died. She was in the same room, just watching, listening, and observing. Ochiba was a consort to the Taiko, and she was the only person that gave him a child. The child that we saw that is the heir to inherit the status of Taiko when they become of age. Ochiba is also the highest ranking woman in Japan, so she's feared, admired, and holds political influence in Osaka. Within the trailer, we saw that she was walking through the grounds and she met with Ishido during the dead of night. Here she said the line, "The time for politics has come to an end," and as she said this, there was a massive smile on her face. A somewhat haunting and sinister smile. As by her saying that, she's almost insinuating that Ishido should retaliate or progress to the second stage of war. First is always diplomatic approaches, which have clearly failed, as Ochiba thinks the same. Then it progresses to military, which is what Toranaga has been preparing for. With the Taiko dead, Jozen being killed in the name of Toranaga, which marked an act of war, she may be under the impression that her son is a target and the status that he holds could be under threat, which then ultimately puts her under threat too. So with her smart head, she may be going to Ishido because she wants the both of them to turn on each other, where both of them could end up being killed, eliminating both potential threats. Or she may feel as though, with Ishido having the other regents on his side, it would be an easy way to get Toranaga out of the picture and allow her to get back to some kind of safety. Because other than Toranaga, all of the other regents seem to be acting in line in her eyes and aren't resisting or rebelling like Toranaga is. To her, they seem to be staying loyal to the deceased Taiko and ruling in his place until Yechio comes of age. So it's going to be great getting introduced to this character and seeing how she plays the game and uses those around her to her own advantage. And then from there, the trailer came to an end. I think the next episode looks like it's going to be a really good one. There was nothing in the trailer that hinted towards the response that Toranaga was going to have due to his son essentially starting an all-out war in his name. But I'm guessing we'll see that at some point in the next episode. There was also a line in the synopsis for the episode that didn't have any clips focused on it, and that was Yabushige searches for the spy that revealed his intentions to Lord Toranaga. Within episode 4, we saw that Yabushige suspected that there was a spy amongst his men, or at least a rat, as Toranaga was aware of Blackthorne, his ships, and everything on board it, and Yabushige didn't tell him about it, which meant that it must have come from somewhere. So I imagine Yabushige's paranoia is going to increase as the disloyal man searches for a fellow unfaithful person amongst the people he's supposed to trust. So I guess it's kinda karma really. He's being treated how he's treating Toranaga. So, there you have it, Shogun Episode 5 Trailer Explained. If you want to see more videos on Shogun, then click on the card in the top corner. I've been covering the show from the beginning, and I've also been releasing videos on the real-life historical figures that the characters are based on. So if you want to see that, then head over to the channel where there's an entire playlist. Thanks for tuning into the video, and I'll see you in the next one.